Hello and welcome to the second video in this series. I would like to go ahead and give a credit for the website that I'm using their files in order to illustrate some of the statistical function for you. These are the the easiest function that you will be dealing with, but we need to be familiar with just in case they come across our path, and we need to be able to handle them very quickly and very effectively. So this website is excel-easy.com. I'm going to be using them frequently to download some of their file for illustration purposes, so I need to give them credit for that. Anyway, I did download this file here. I'm going to go ahead and illustrate or explain to you what we need to learn about those simple functions. First of all, I need to go ahead and change the view to 200% so you'll be able to see it better. And we're good. It's going to be very easy really to see that. I'm going to have to deal with some of those in numerical value. These numbers right here, they are actually listed as horizontally from A through O. Okay, and I could go ahead and, as I showed you in the previous video, I could go ahead and count how many elements I have using, in this case, since I don't have any text-based values, 0 is a number, so it's not going to really discount it. So there are 15, and even I used count A, as you notice, it should give me a 15 because count A does count every cell that is not blank. So we agree that there are actually a 15 number from A through O. Let's go ahead and first of all, these are the function. If I click on those twice, you'll be able to see it. The other way of displaying which one is function and which one is a constant value in the spreadsheet is to press Control tilde. Control tilde is the character to the left of the exclamation mark. So you could actually toggle between them. You notice here I could go ahead and drag this to show you there is actually the functions as we see them here, but I could toggle back and forth between Control tilde in order to show the functions and also to show the constant or the result, not the constant, the result of that function. Another way of knowing where is a function in the sheet is to go to Find and Select and click on Formulas, and notice here it will highlight only those cells that have function or formulas behind them. So you notice this is actually a function and this is not been selected, and knowing this is going to be a constant. So one more time, if I wanted to go ahead and save file and go to the constants, not the functions or formula, it's going to highlight the top row because these are constants. All right, let's go ahead and see the average, averageif. First of all, as average, we all know about average, so I'm going to start AVR and hit enter and go to this one here. If I'm too lazy to drag over the 15 values, I could go ahead and use Control Shift all the way to the right arrow. It will highlight everything, hit enter, and then we're in good business. The second value, it's very interesting. It's a function that is very, very powerful. Actually, we have two flavors of it. We have a medium strength and we have full strength. The medium strength is averageif, where we have only a list of values pertaining into or related to maybe one criteria. We're going to come across this heavily in the future because we might be able to use that in also when we get our final result and do formatting. Not only averageif, we have countif, we have sumif, also we have averageifs, we have countifs, where there is an s at the end, that's mean plural, and also we have sumifs. For now, I wanted to count how many values in the 15 values in the top row as long as these values are not 0. So we're going to go ahead and select all that. Here we go. If I'm going to do it more than once, I have to really apply the what we call the absolute reference or absolute address, meaning I'm going to lock all these addresses together. Of course, I could toggle between the absolute address and the relative address by keep hitting the F4 function, the function key the F4. In this case, I'm going to apply it one time, so there is no need for me to lock it. And notice here, I'm going to put the condition, which means is not equal to 0. It's strange, but this is the way it is. We have to include the condition that goes with averageif, sumif, also with countif between double quotes. And here we go. It's going to be not equal. So this is not equal. The 2 chevron not equal to 0. And notice we're going to exclude anything with the average of those without 0, average of those values without 0. Of course, we could go ahead and prove to you that this is actually not a true by showing to you countif, and the same thing here by going over all that and put a comma and count only those values that are not equal to 0, and we should be able to figure that out for the little numbers, list of numbers that we have. So we have 13 because we have a 0 here and a 0 here, so the others are actually all non-zero value. I could show you another function very quickly, sumif, meaning sumif this range only if the value is not equal to 0 as well. So it's not going to make any difference in this case, but we could see, for example, I don't want to really sum anything that has to do with 8. So I could exclude the 8. Maybe 0 it doesn't affect because adding anything to 0 doesn't change the value. But here we go, we excluded the 8 from the calculation. 8 is, here we go. And notice I could do a lot more than this. So it's not only by symbol addition. There are a lot of strength behind Excel, and that's the reason I'm using Excel for this series, because as we all know, it's very accessible. You don't have to pay heavy amount of money to get it, and you'll be able still to do all your statistical analysis and econometrics analysis. Of course, we're going to tab onto some other software, but for most of the part we will be using Excel. Let's go ahead and continue. There is another function, it's called medium. Medium is the middle value. Sometimes the medium is more important for us to show than the actual average, because average could really distort the reality very easily. If you have one of the values like a 3 million and everybody is around 3 or 4, the average is going to be huge. But and it's not going to represent the actual reality for most of the population or most of the sample that we will be using. However, medium is really going to tell us where is the middle value, where is that value that all, the rest of the value cluster around it. So medium is a very interesting and very powerful, and we're going to go ahead and type MED and hit enter, because Excel is happily there to assist us. And here we go. 6 is the medium value. So that's right. Really, there is half of the values above 6 and half of the value below 6. Another interesting piece of statistical function is going to be mode, which is really it's MODE, and which really has to do with the number or the value that is the most repeated in the list. So here we go. 8 is the most repeated value. Of another function, it's going to be referred to as standard deviation, which really the distance from the mean or the average here. The mean is here. How far is the distance from 5.6? So we understand 68% of that population is going to be within 2.82 point from the mean, which is 5.6. And if you notice here, we're going to STD, we're going to have multiple standard deviation. I always like to take the population, standard deviation of the population, knowing that on the old days we use standard deviation for .s for the sample, but population now is really probably the best one, knowing that the computers has become extremely fast or have become extremely fast. They will be able to handle a large amount of data very easily. You could use stdev.p or stdev if you want. It's not going to make a huge difference. So it's going to give you the same result. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and see if we're going to get the standard deviation, which is how far is actually the 68% of the population from, in this case, for the population is dot, and let's see here, that's from the sample. And if I lift it by itself, it's going to give me 2.82. Of course, we could go ahead and see there's a lot more to the number of the digit of the decimal points. I like the population because, again, it's easier to treat the whole thing as population initially. Unless somebody say this is a sample from a larger amount of population, then it's going to be a different story. Let's take a look at this one here is the minimum, very common function that we use in order to tell us what is the minimum value. And again, I could go ahead and select that, hit enter, and you know about minimum, and also maximum is the same thing, maximum. Here we go. And you could go ahead and select those here, hit enter. As you notice, I'm not closing the last parentheses. Excel does that for me. And here we go. We have large. Large is a very interesting function, very much unused. Very a few people, few number of people do use it, but it's very powerful too because it gives you some hidden treasures that we're not aware of. For example, if I wanted to get to see what is the third largest value in the list, which is in this case 8. And the same thing here, if I wanted to say what is the smallest, in this case, let's say I wanted to get the smallest second number, and of course it's going to be 0 in this case. I hope you enjoyed this video. There is a lot to learn from these videos. Please watch them again and again. The most important part about watching these videos is to recreate them for yourself. If you don't get the skill, meaning to apply it, you're not going to be able to really learn this material. It's just like riding a bicycle. It's going to take you multiple attempts to really learn this type of skill. But once you know how to ride a bicycle, the rest of the journeys that you're going to take is going to be nothing but joyful. Thank you and have a great day.